Welcome, my name is Andreas Patikis and I'm the founder of the Grey Cotswolds, where we offer unique courses and retreats around stress and well-being, anger management, parenting and sports performance for a healthier mind and body. Our venues are set in the beautiful and relaxing Cotswolds countryside with luxurious private dining and facilities. Our specialist team have vast knowledge and experience with beneficial therapies and advice, all in one place, to help with any challenges and empower you for life. Discover a new way of living through our podcasts and prepare to enter a world that is not black and white. Let us accept the colours in between. Welcome to the Grey Cotswolds. Welcome everyone. I've been so looking forward to this podcast. I'm glad to have Dr. Rosy with me, who over the last 30 years has been one of the UK's leading lifestyle doctors. I'm so happy she's part of the Grey Cotswolds team and will be with me on our Health Reset Day and our retreats. Rosy, welcome. How are you feeling?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Andreas.
You're very welcome. So for our listeners who may not know what you do, tell us maybe about your background in preventative healthcare.
Thank you. Well, I started off as a GP, but I got deeply interested in the natural healthcare movement and the incredible focus on nutrition and herbs and lifestyle, but in particular, the mind-body connection. So how does the way that we think and behave and the patterns that we show in the way we live and work, how is this affecting our immune system and our resilience and resistance to disease? And what role is that playing in causing disease? But much more important, how can we use that to prevent and reverse disease once it's happened? So it took me into work at the brilliant Bristol Cancer Help Centre, where I worked for 15 years, helping people to heal themselves and boost their health and well-being to reverse the condition. And I saw some amazing things happening. And after 15 years of doing that, I thought, why do we have to wait to be ill? Why don't we bring all this right back up the river and actually work to operate at our birthright level of health and well-being without having to be frightened to death to get involved with our health? So this is what I really want to do now, is get people engaged now so that we can prevent this pandemic of lifestyle illness that's going on all around us.
That's amazing work. And like you say, over many years, and you've been at one end of the scale on the cancer side of things, but now you're looking at it at a further earlier stage, aren't you, as well, in terms of preventative? So what's your motivation for running the Health Reset Day with us?
Well, this is really a taster day. So this is a chance for people to dip their toe and take a look at themselves, their health and well-being, because you know what? We will all invest in our IT strategy or in our cars or in our houses or in our holidays. But are we doing a proper MOT check on our own health and well-being? So hopefully what we can do with people is wake them up to what risks they're currently taking, looking at those crucial elements of both the lifestyle and the work style, and getting people actually motivated and engaged in actually having a proper detailed self-care strategy to take them to the top of their game. And that doesn't matter what the starting point is, whether the starting point is illness or exhaustion or stress, or if people just want to be in a state of what I call life energy mastery, really, really firing on five, top of the game, absolutely just succeeding in every possible way.
And that sounds a brilliant place to be. So you mentioned the risks there. What risks are people taking with their health and well-being at the moment?
Well, it comes at all levels: body, mind, spirit, environment. In our body, the biggie is eating the wrong food. So we can be overfed and undernourished. With our physical needs, we can be stuck sitting in front of a computer. The Americans call it sitting disease, where people are just not using very much metabolic energy, putting on weight, blood pressure going up, heavy legs, and getting more and more prone to things like diabetes, and heart disease. We can be toxic. People can be getting way too involved with drink and drugs, alcohol of all sorts, obviously, but also fizzy drinks, sugary drinks, acidic things, medication that they don't need, and gradually getting more and more toxic. Big problem right now is stress, and that's not only the stress of paying the mortgage or raising a shareholder return, it's self-stressing. So a lot of people have hugely high stress levels because they have a wicked stress driver that is pushing them relentlessly and taking them into a place of adrenal fatigue and burnout, and that point where you're working harder but you're achieving less. And then we can go on to the really deep one, which is our meaning and purpose. Sometimes we're living a life based on things that we chose 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we came out of school. But the question is, does that have any juice for us? Is it getting our motor running? Are we truly excited and engaged with our life and work? Or have we gone to sleep on the job and become bored or dispirited or lost? So there are many things to look at, and there are even more than those. There are the questions of where we get our uplift, where we get our joy, what impact is our environment having upon us, and nature and community, how are we contributing? I mean, there's so many factors. It's such an exciting thing to explore with people. And once people get started on this journey, they really realize the rich treasures that they might have been denying themselves, and what we call the unlived life. So all the potential people might have, which is just not happening. And it's often in that unlived life where illness begins.
And just with that, what you said, my brain is wondering on each little thing you broke down there, and we could pick one of those and talk all day about just one of those. And we seem to live in lives now where we're surrounded by stress. And I suppose it's what we make of it, and whether it's good or bad stress, there's all that comes into it. But why is it all happening? Why are people so stressed, and why is lifestyle filled with stress now?
Oh my goodness. Well, that's a bit of $1 million question, isn't it? But in every moment, we have a choice, don't we, on the priority that we're working to. And for leaders, particularly, it's about our higher intentional framework. So, what is driving us? What is motivating us? What's important? And where do the shifts have to happen so that we become nourished in our soul, in our spirit, in our hearts, in our mind, as well as, yes, it's great to have a fantastic shareholder return. But it's also really great to know we're doing something important that matters to us, and that we're making the time for our relationships and our emotional well-being. And so sometimes that just needs a shift of focus, so that we make sure we're really aware of what is valuable to us, and that we're putting all of our focus and attention in the right place.
So that comes back, I suppose, to a couple of things that come in my mind: awareness and then balance thereafter.
Yeah, and passion, love. What is it that you love? What is it that sparks you up? What is it that turns you on? Heart's desire is an important ingredient in holistic health. And so having a check-in on a health reset day or a health retreat gives you time to stop the world, get off, tune in. And, is what I'm doing the right thing for me? Is it the right thing for the planet? Am I in truth and on purpose with my life?
My thoughts go back to at the very beginning, where we're talking about you being involved in cancer, and
seeing people for 15 years at that end of the scale, and then thinking, what can we do at the other end of the scale? And you mentioned heartfelt and passion and our desires there. And we often see people in treatment of therapies where they're heartbroken at that end of the scale, and maybe not at the earlier end where, like you say, you want to see where is your heart, where is it taking you to, where's your passion? And that is a whole different area to focus on, isn't it, rather than curing or trying to make it easier once you're at the other end.
Well, when people do get a life-threatening diagnosis, guess what? It knocks all the other fears into a cocked hat. And all those things that have been keeping you stuck cease to be important. So people have the most, it's in a way, it's a kind of like a get out of jail free card, because literally those other fears have collapsed. And it's now, with the right encouragement, if I always wanted to be an opera singer or fly a plane or, be a writer, you've now got license to do it. But I'm saying, let's not wait until we're frightened to death to become fully alive. I heard all those people when I was doing those residential weeks at Bristol Cancer Help Centre saying, why, oh, why, oh, why did I have to wait to come fully alive and be true to myself? So what I'm challenging all of those listening and working with us on our Health Reset Day and our retreat to follow is, come on, let's wake up now. Let's start living true to yourself now and just unleash all that potential for joy, happiness, creativity, and growth of business and success. Because believe me, when people are on song in this way and on fire, business thrives.
Yeah, for sure. So why do you take a holistic approach to health and illness?
Because we're not just a machine. Okay, we are a complex being with a mind, with a heart, with a soul, with a relationship to that which is around us socially and environmentally and with nature. So there are multiple factors affecting our health and well-being, most of which over we can have some control. But most particularly our mind, with the fact that we learn habits, we learn attitudes, we learn behaviors, which can be controlling us unconsciously. So when we get to go in a little more deeply with people, what we're trying to look at, it's a bit like having a computer with poor software. If I've learned self-stressing habits and patterns, and that I'm not good enough, and that I've got to please people or be a perfectionist or whatever kind of drivers I've got, I can be like a little bird in a conservatory bashing my head against the window pane, putting in incredibly large amounts of effort, trying to prove myself to a parent, like I was a 10-year-old or a 5-year-old. And we need to unhook ourselves from these drivers that can keep us in unproductive loops. But worse than that, when we're terribly stressed, self-stressing or externally stressed, our immune system collapses. So we go into a state of immunocompromise where we're just not, we're not safe from infection. We've all seen what's gone on with COVID, but there are multiple other threats. There are viruses that cause cancer. There are all sorts of things around, which if we've got no immunity, because we're so full of adrenaline, we're not going to be safe around. So we become immunocompromised. So we have to work with all those levels to get ourselves into full health and well-being.
Yeah, and where you're saying there, these repeated patterns of behavior from our childhood, I see in my practice with my clients that, mostly over 90% of the issues that they are facing today are from their past. And it's one thing knowing that and bringing awareness to it, but it's what do you do with that? And talking is brilliant, talking about it, but sometimes you need more than just talking. You need some additional support. You need some different support. And this is the whole reason of, I suppose, the holistic approach, because sometimes talking to me, they'll leave my practice feeling good and they'll have resolved something or understood something or discovered something. But then what follows that as well, it's just an all-encompassing, where they're held, I suppose, with and supported with all this additional therapies or practices that will benefit them.
Exactly. And, you can literally change your mind. I know we use that about decisions, but your mindset and your beliefs can be changed. Our brains are actually what's called neuroplastic. So, and even more interesting, our genes are plastic, as of in, I don't mean like cellophane or, I mean that they can change and they can shift. And there's a whole new science called epigenetics, which shows us that the genes change and heal and become more complete when people are calm, when they feel loved, when they feel secure, and when they feel they belong. So these are not just nice to haves, these are very important. So leaders can get very isolated, out on a limb, cut off from family, thinking work is the only thing, and losing health and well-being and becoming vulnerable. So there are techniques, there are therapies that can change the beliefs and the patterns. And there are self-help practices, all of which are the kinds of things I do with my clients.
And how big of a problem is stress and anxiety? I know we hear about it and it's all over the news and it's everywhere. How big of a problem is it?
Massive. I mean, we are up to 1 in 2 people feeling stressed now. Mental health is the biggest problems facing employers and businesses and organizations. With school teachers, they're saying that in a survey, 85% of teachers had mental health symptoms, but only 5% reported it. So there's quite a hidden problem with mental health issues that people aren't sharing. So this is something that needs tackling, and it needs tackling now.
Yeah, and you touched on the workforces there and teachers, but on workforces, I'm seeing research and statistics after statistics about, nearly 1 in 2, like you say, at burnout, in terms of all types of work. It's not just the teachers or just, certain industries, it's the workforce in the whole. And this could be the work-related stress or stress that's just around them. There's been a fallout from COVID. I know we sort of left COVID a bit, but there's still a fallout and things that have happened to people since then and how they've coped with it or not coped with it. So there's a tremendous amount going on out there and people that need help.
And this is why leaders in particular need to get really switched on about how they can support the workforce to achieve optimum health and well-being. And this is another thing I do in my working life, is take health, we call it health creation, but into the workplace to actually create an action plan, a proactive health and well-being strategy, which is not just a tick box equation, but it's about finding ways to engage the employees in things that make them feel great. Because guess what? If they feel great about their work, they're more productive, and everything goes better. You become an employer of choice when the workforce feels thought about, cared about, engaged, and consulted about the things that are going to make them feel better. And ultimately, it's not rocket science, but it does need a strategic objective to tackle and address this properly.
Yeah, and all of those benefits, as well as there'll be more commitment from the people, that are working there.
Yeah.
Better productivity. I think the stat is, spend £1 of investment in their mental well-being, it's a £5 return because productivity increases. And if they feel supported with that productivity going up as well, but also it's less days off sick. I think the stats are through the roof in terms of people being off sick over the last 12 months at work again. So it helps all around, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I heard somebody talking about a new book for leaders called He Who Cares Wins, which was a spoof on He Who Dares Wins, you know. So it's really about humanity. It's a very lovely thing that's happening where we're actually coming into a stronger sense of community and care and mutual support, and helping people to reach their potential.
Yeah, and there's a lot that businesses and companies do. You know, there's a lot more awareness now, but definitely a lot more that can be done as well. So, how important is it for people to tackle the question, or with on most people's mind, and how can they do it? How can this be achieved?
Well, I think that what we're going to do on the Health Reset Day is to wake people up to the important parameters that they need to be looking at, get people to do an audit for themselves about you know, what's working, what's not working, really get people to look at their own limiting beliefs, patterns, behaviors, and to really make it a choice point. Make it a really exciting choice point of a reset. And as you know, with the changing direction of a ship, you only need a couple of degrees change in the steering, and down the line, you're 100 miles further away from where you were going to end up. So, you know, people don't have to see this as a massive mountain to climb. Every single step that you take is going to get you into higher energy, happier heart, and more fulfilling life.
Definitely little steps. That's a phrase I use a lot with my clients, little steps. And what will they get out of this Health Reset Day?
Well, I think my hope is that people will go away educated, informed, much more self-aware, aware of the choices they can make, some practical techniques, some practical ideas, and hopefully with a new intention to make health a priority and well-being. And that's not like Nanny saying, thou shalt do this, that, or the other. It's about, I'm actually going to move myself center stage. I'm going to put my loving beam on myself and start treating myself like I exist, like I am as important as my car, my IT, my house, my, you know, my relationships, that people go away in the beginning of a different relationship with themselves, in the driving seat, in control, empowered, and with a whole new direction.
Yeah, definitely. And with those next steps, what would they look like with us and the Grey Cotswolds?
Well, I know that you're putting together a really beautiful retreat, the opportunity for those people who feel inspired and awakened by the day, the Reset Day, to come and deepen with an incredible team of therapists and experts in different fields for the body, the mind, the spirit, to take people to where they need to go. So we very much intend to make this bespoke, to make it really person-centered, and to get people working at the depth and the level and in the way that's going to make all the difference for them. And that's my job as a holistic doctor, to try and focus through the many options, the many layers for each individual. Where's the key for you?
Yeah, and another great benefit is they're going to get to have a chat with you before they come on the retreat as well, because we'll be looking at their individual needs and where they're at in their life and their journey, and they can spend some time on the phone with you going through that. So we've got a good understanding of where they're at and how we can help and support and guide them when they're with us for the week.
Exactly. And with the use of the Picture of Health tool that I've created, it's a shortcut way, a quick way for people to do a self-assessment, and to look at their levels of self-care of body, mind, spirit, environment. And hopefully then I can help unearth exactly what the key issues are, and where the key work needs to happen.
Well, Rosie, I could spend hours and hours speaking to you about these subjects. It's so interesting. And as I said, I'm so pleased that you're part of the team. What I do want to ask you before I do let you go is what I ask everyone who comes on the podcast, which is what do you do to relax?
Well, the absolute central core of my well-being has been and always has been yoga. The physical asanas, and the breathing, the pranayama, which is about achieving mental balance through breath work. But I also sing. So when I go to choir, nothing else exists, and it's pure joy. I also spend half my life upside down in the garden, pulling out the weeds, planting the seeds, and loving friends and relationships. But through very disturbed times in my life, disturbing and difficult, yoga has been my rock. Healthy food, organic food, and having enough time to play and have fun and socialize. Yeah, and many levels, but those are the biggies.
Yeah, and that all sounds like a very holistic approach and relaxing too. Rosy, it's been a real pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed coming onto the podcast today.
Absolutely wonderful. And it's great work you're doing, Andreas, and I want to fully support you with this marvelous mission.
I appreciate that, Rosy. So until next time, everyone, this is Andreas Patikis, your fellow traveller on life's journey, signing out.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any thoughts, feelings or reflections on today's podcast, please leave them on the comments section on our website or social media channels. You can find more episodes and information at www.thegreycotswolds.co.uk. This is Andreas Patikis, your fellow traveller on life's journey, signing off.